Previously in part 1, in The Cat That Watches the Stairs, a family began noticing their cat staring endlessly at the staircase, where phantom footsteps echoed without a body. What started as unease grew into terror, when shadows seemed to move, and the stairs themselves groaned as if something unseen was climbing closer. Now listen to part 2. The house no longer felt like his. Daniel found himself avoiding the staircase, taking quick glances only when he had to pass it. Even then, his eyes flicked upward against his will, half expecting to see something crouched at the landing, waiting. Milo grew worse. The cat stopped sleeping in Daniel's bedroom. Instead, every night, without fail, he stationed himself at the base of the stairs. His green eyes gleamed in the dim light, unblinking, locked on the darkened landing above. Some nights, Daniel tried to carry Milo away, but the cat clawed and twisted out of his arms, yowling until placed back at his post. It was as if Milo had taken on a job, an unending watch, keeping something upstairs from coming down. On the 16th night, the silence shattered. Daniel woke to the sound of a crash. A picture frame had fallen in the hallway near the stairs. Groggy, pulse racing, he stumbled from his bedroom. The frame lay shattered on the floor. Milo was already there, tail bushed, body hunched low. His eyes weren't on the broken glass. They were on the stairs. The sound came again. Footsteps. Not slow this time. Quick, urgent, like someone running down toward them. Daniel's body went cold, but just as suddenly, the footsteps stopped. Halfway down, the air felt charged, thick, as if the house itself held its breath. Daniel grabbed Milo and stumbled back into the living room, his ears strained, waiting for the sound to continue. It didn't, but the house didn't return to silence either. Instead, Daniel heard something else. A faint scratching, not wood creaking, not the shifting of old nails. Scratching, like fingernails dragging across the wooden steps. It started near the top, then moved lower, lower, until it stopped at the bottom step. Daniel's heart thundered. His throat was dry, breath shallow. He wanted to look, but every fiber of his body screamed not to. Milo growled, long and low. The sound of a warning to something invisible. Then, just as suddenly, the scratching ceased. The air lightened. The house fell still again. But Daniel didn't move from the couch until sunrise. The next morning, Daniel searched the stairs. Every step bore faint scratches, marks that hadn't been there before. Thin, uneven, like they'd been carved in a hurry. He tried to rationalize. Maybe the cat had done it. Maybe the wood was weaker than it looked. But when he tried to line up Milo's claws against the grooves, they didn't match. The scratches were too long, too deep, too deliberate. And they ended at the very bottom step, as though something had stopped there, watching. Later that week, a neighbor stopped by, a woman in her 60s named Margaret, who had lived in the area for decades. She eyed the house warily as she spoke with Daniel on the porch. "You're brave moving in there," she said, her voice low. Daniel frowned. Why? Margaret shifted uncomfortably. People don't stay long. Haven't for years. Always the same complaints. Noises at night. The stairs. Daniel's stomach turned cold. The stairs? Her gaze darted past him toward a shadowed hallway just inside. They say someone died here. Years ago. A tenant who fell down those steps. Broke his neck. But some people... Her voice trailed off. She shook her head. Some people say he didn't just fall. They say he was pushed. She left quickly after that, refusing to come inside. Daniel stood alone in the doorway, her words echoing in his mind. Pushed. He looked back at the stairs. Milo sat at the base, as always, watching, guarding, unblinking. Daniel tried everything to block it out. He worked longer hours. He left the television on loud at night. He even started sleeping on the couch to avoid the second floor altogether. But the house would not let him ignore it. One night, as he dozed, Milo's sudden yowl jolted him awake. The cat stood at the edge of the couch, fur bristling, gaze locked on the staircase. Daniel followed the stair. The steps creaked, slowly, one by one, as if something was finally descending. He forced himself upright, chest heaving, eyes glued to the stairs. He whispered, barely audible, "Show yourself." For a moment, there was silence. Then, the temperature dropped. A chill spread through the air, sharp enough to sting. And the footsteps continued. But this time, they didn't stop halfway. They reached the bottom. Daniel's pulse hammered in his throat. He stared into the dark hallway, expecting, dreading to see a figure. But nothing was there. Nothing his eyes could see. Milo hissed violently, lunging toward the unseen presence, claws swiping at the empty air in front of the first step. And that was when Daniel felt it. Not a touch, not a shove, but a weight, an unseen pressure in the room, thick, heavy, oppressive. The sense of something standing right there in front of him, watching. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. He sat frozen on the couch until morning light bled through the curtains. But exhaustion eventually won. And when he finally drifted off, he dreamed. He dreamed of the stairs. Endless, winding, stretching into shadows that never ended. And from the top of those stairs, he heard breathing. Then a voice. It wasn't a voice he recognized. It was low, guttural, broken, like someone forcing words through a throat filled with water. It whispered his name. Daniel. He woke with a scream, drenched in sweat. Milo sat on the couch's armrest, staring at him with unblinking eyes. But the worst part. Daniel swore he still heard it, faint, right at the stairs. His name. From that night on, Daniel understood something terrifying. The footsteps weren't just sounds. The whispers weren't just dreams. Whatever lingered on those stairs knew him now. And it was coming closer.